To the ride and shit, I'm straight. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Get up my way. I'm running late. What can I say? I heard you died twice. Once when they bury you in the
All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Appreciate everybody hopping on this morning. I see a lot of people on screen today. So if you're not on screen, we'd appreciate you jumping on screen. Good to see some of the Detroit offices on this morning. What's up, California? Madison, I know you're putting in your plugs there. Appreciate you jumping on super early out in LA. The background, I know where you are. So
good to see
appreciate you
everyone.
jumping on. Good to see you. I see some of the Chicago guys on this morning. I see Columbus is on today, a lot of Detroit. I see South America. We got a lot of people on. So first of all, before we get into it, this is, I do this 10 o'clock Eastern time. If you guys want to share with your friends, your family, your people, your offices, your cats, your dogs, whoever, share it with someone so we can help change the world one leader at a time. If you haven't done it already, go to YouTube. I know you guys go on there, watch a bunch of funny videos or things that you're interested in. Klear Channel, K-L-E-A-R. So Sanjay, I see a couple of you guys in the office there. If you can turn around and make sure anyone that's new in the office pulls out their YouTube on their cell phone. So I know you guys all have one. I know you guys know what the YouTube logo is. And I want you to type in K-L-E-A-R channel and please subscribe. And I'll tell you, it's not for the subscriptions. It's not for anything, but I just want to help you. I want to help you guys do well. And I help you accomplish the goals that you have. All right, so today's topic, it's very interesting. I a little something yesterday when I sent out a couple messages of friends and people in the business that I'm in. And I said, I want to talk about some awful leadership tips. Awful leadership tips. Coincidentally, we have more people on this morning that are interested in awful leadership tips than we do in real leadership tips. Strange, isn't it? Why do you guys want to know what not to do? We are negative human beings. That's why. People get excited when people are negative and they live on others' misery. That's why. All right, so I do have some real stuff to go over though. So awful leader, I'm just jump right in. Awful leadership tip number one. No goals, no purpose, clear vision of where you're going, and never talk about it. Say it again. Have no goals, purpose, no clear vision of where you're going. Clear like K-L-E-A-R, clear vision, pun intended. Where you're going, and never talk about it. So obviously I'm making a joke out of this to make a point. And the point is purpose. Talented people have purpose. Talented people want to know what's in it for them. If you happen to be an owner of your own company right now, like I am, or maybe a coach or a leader of a team, where are you going? What do you want to accomplish? Where are you taking your opportunity? Awesome people are attracted to work ethic and drive, but they're more attracted to confidence. You may have nothing. You may not be in a role where, you may not be in your career where you're actually leading yet. You gotta believe you're going and what you're doing, and keep in mind, people, really motivated, ambitious people don't want to be around lazy people. So I got to give my boy Sanjay some love. He's got a lot on his plate, running the office, learning the day-to-day. He stayed out last night till the end of the day to hit some of his goals in sales. And I mentioned to him that, hey, listen, that's exactly the work ethic that's needed to be a great leader. You're showing your people and you're showing your team what it takes to be successful. So keep in mind, that if you're motivated, ambitious, you got to back it up. The quickest, for a guy like me, the quickest way for me to leave your team, for me to not be around you, is for you to be lazy, to cut corners. I was 22 and I started my career. I wanted to get ahead. Now, I don't want to wait 5-10 years. And so keep that in mind, that you gotta have the confidence to work and to get after it and grind. That's that's exciting to motivated people, to see that you actually back it up. And it's so interesting. I hear people say things like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to, I don't know, work out. I don't have time for my girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. And you know what I say to them? I do. Why? I run an organization of close to 30 offices. I run an entire program with 70 owners in the program. I'm a dad of 2 boys that are very active in soccer and other things. How do I have the time for my wife? How do I have the time to work out every day? It may not be perfect every day. So today is an example, because my wife's traveling and the kids actually are on, we found out 3 days ago, there's some COVID cases at their Christian school. So they're on virtual school and I'm running the business from home. And again, Sarah's traveling. So, I mean, they're in the other room trying to figure out, for some of us, we don't know how to work Zoom as adults. Imagine a 6-year-old. Absolute chaos is going on. But, how are we able to do it all? Well, today I worked out in my button down and my jeans. I'm doing push-ups on the floor. Sit-ups. I'm getting it in. I need that for me. And truthfully, 2 days ago, when I found out what was happening, I was still running the business, Sarah was taking off. I didn't. I felt like shit today, because I need it for my mind. I need it to relieve stress. I need it to, relieve really, I just need it for me, for the core of who I am. And so remember, you make priorities based around what you want to do. And if you care about your health, you care about feeling amazing, you care about your dreams, your goals, your purpose, you're going to start talking about it. You're going to start telling people about it and sharing it with other people. So just remember that it's super, super important. If you want an awful leadership tip, you should never talk about your goals, never talk about your purpose. And I can tell you, Michael, the guy who hired me way back when, Michael Sessions, at 27 years old, one of the things that I remember about him, being a young guy just joining a business, was that he knew where he was going. He knew that he wanted to run a business. He knew he wanted to build an organization. And because of his confidence, I became confident in what I was doing. And even when I was 22 years old and I started my first office, my first business, I started saying things like, I wanted to be the pace setter in the campaign. I wanted to be number 1 in the field. And back then we had 400 or 500 reps in the campaign I was working on. I wanted to be the number 1 rep in the nation. Because again, Michael talked about when he did. And I've always thought that if someone else can do it, I can do it. But I think that the thing that really got me about him, and the reason why I was so motivated to work with him, is because he was in early. He was working late. He was backing it up every day with his work ethic. And I'll tell you, not everyone can work hard. Not everyone has it in them. And I'll tell you, my attitude is not everyone, has nice houses, nice cars, lives a great life. And not picking on him, but I had a conversation last night at Brady's little futsal practice with one of the other guys that was there. He's in his late 30s, and he says to me, he goes, "Hey, Ken, what do you do? Every so often I see you're here, you're not here, but you have a tan a lot. Do you travel a lot?" I was like, "Well, I happen to be in Cancun recently." He goes, oh, that's cool. He's like, what do you do? He's like, I run a sales company. We staff stores and we work in, outside sales with different clients. He goes, oh, you're an entrepreneur? He's like, man, there's a few other dads here that are entrepreneurs. I work for GM. I've worked there for 15 years. I'm actually from Japan. Came over here, to go to University of Michigan, and we had a big win this weekend, which is cool. He's like, but I've always dreamed of being an entrepreneur. I've always dreamed of having my own choices and controlling my life. And I was like, well, it's never too late to start. And we got into a deep conversation about his son. He goes, hey, I noticed that Brady on the soccer field is so calm and he plays such beautiful soccer. I was like, thanks, that's a great comment. I appreciate that. He goes, did you play? And I was like, yeah, I played a little bit in college. He said, well, what do you talk about to him? He's like, what I'm starting to notice is that it's more about my son thinking right than it is about the actual mechanics of soccer. And I said, it's interesting you say that because I coach people for a living to an extent in the business I'm in. And I know when their thoughts are right, their actions are right. When they feel good, they'll do good. And I'll tell you, the number one person I want to make sure, or people in general, I want to make sure I coach properly are my kids. I want to make sure the boys, no matter what happens, this is strong. Because I know when they think right, as they grow up and they mature and they become adults, they'll be able to do whatever they want. And so it's at the end of every practice and game, I ask Brady, hey, how do you think you did? And we evaluate it. We quote unquote break down his day, break down his practice. Because again, I want him to think right. I want him to know what he did right. I want him to know what he did, he got to improve. And he's typically pretty straightforward and dead on what he wants to do. So, but remember that, you got to back it up with your work ethic and you got to back it up with your thoughts. And the last thing I'll leave you on this final thought about people and thinking right and doing right is there's a guy named Gary Polson who I've looked up to for many, many years. And he said to me one time, your goals have to be big enough that your team sees their goals in your goals. So if your goal is to be an assistant manager, it's a shitty goal. Because that means if I'm on your team, I'm a leader. No disrespect to any leaders in the call today or anyone that's in that role. Again, for a guy like me, I wasn't here to do that. I was here to run an office, run a market, run multiple markets, grow a massive organization. And so thankfully, Michael's goal wasn't to, just be an owner. Because for me, that wouldn't have meant much else. So again, have purpose, have goals, talk about it, get excited about it, and you'll be doing great. So that's point number one. Awful leadership number one. Awful leadership tip number two. Prejudge people. Prejudge people. That's an awful tip. I have let's see if I can pull up a quick slide. Let's see here. Let me see if I can pull this up. But prejudge people. I was putting together some slides here and so show you guys of what talent looks like. And let me play this here. Madison, I see you and a couple people. Can you see this? Thumbs up. Okay. So what does talent look like? Look like this kid?
I know who that is.
Somebody knows who that is, but not everybody does. Who's this kid?
It's me.
Cristiano Ronaldo. 1.6 million Instagram per post. The highest paid Instagram people in the world today. He's obviously one of the best soccer players ever. He plays for Manchester United. But who would have known this was Cristiano Ronaldo? By looking at him. Who's this guy? Kid.
Kobe Bryant.
Oh, somebody knows. Kobe Bryant. opinion, one of the GOATs of basketball. Titles. I just got a signed autograph from a charity event that's in my office now from Kobe Bryant. I'm pretty proud of it. And the Mamba mentality. You all know about the Mamba mentality if you know Kobe Bryant. But who would have known he would have created the world he created in basketball and the Mamba mentality, right? Just by looking at him. Who's this young lady? I know this young lady.
The Vice President, Kamala Harris.
Correct. It's Miss Harris, the Vice President of the free world. She's the first female, first Black Asian American Vice President ever in the history of our country. Pretty amazing. But who would have known this was her just by looking? And then who's this guy? Anybody know who this guy is?
I would
It's like
sub Jeff
Bezos.
Bezos. Yeah, with hair. Jeff Bezos with hair.
Bezos with hair. He's worth $206 billion. He runs a company named Amazon. You may have heard of him, especially this time of year when you order packages. His first job was a fry guy at McDonald's. $2 an hour, roughly. 16 years old. And then who's this guy? This guy. He's the 2021 GQ Man of the Year. Married to a supermodel. 2 stud soccer player kids.
Is that you, Ken?
That was me. That was me. That most of that was untrue about, supermodels and whatever. Although I think she is. But my point is who would have known? Right? Who would have known these people have become who they've become? And my point is you can never prejudge anyone. Talent isn't what's on the outside. It comes from within. Passion comes from within. And who am I to judge what someone's made of? I don't want that. So my job as a coach and a leader is to work hard on seeing things from other people's point of view. That is so hard. I had a buddy, Teague, Madison, Teague, says to us in a call recently, how when you really listen to people, you really put yourself in their shoes, and you try to look at things from their point of view, they'll be confused. They'll be weirded out by it in a way. Because it never happens. They never have people do that. But if you can do that young in your career and young in your whatever role you're in, and try to put yourself in their point of view and their eyes, see the world through them, then they'll trust you more. They'll allow you to coach them more. But never prejudge anybody. What I do, there's an old saying that your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. So what I do is I just watch people's actions. And I don't judge them for their actions because a lot of times they don't make great choices. But I watch their actions. Because their actions will tell me what's their priority, what they want. So give an example, a mistake I made early in my career was, somebody that would come in that would, again, look a certain way and they would underperform. I'm like, man, this guy is sharp. I used to hear this word for a long time. I heard this. They're so sharp. What? Because they put on a nice suit? What? Because they, had a nice tie on? They comb their hair a certain way? I don't know. What is sharp? What does that mean? Right? And the reality is the sharp ones are the ones that show up in a certain way. Give an example. If someone's great in our business, if someone's great in sales and they're constantly late, they're not sharp. They're actually a fucking idiot. They perform when they want to, and then when they have to be a leader, be someone who has discipline and competence and able to show up on time, like that. Again, their priorities are elsewhere. And then listen, they may be just disorganized or whatever, but they're not sharp. Not yet. They're very unsharp, right? And if they want to be great in business, then they will make changes to fix it. But over time, if they don't change, that's just who they are. And as a young leader, I used to be like, oh, they're so sharp though, blah, blah. They're not. I was never late multiple times in a week because I made the decision. I knew that there was consequences if I was late, although I could do sales. It wouldn't add up, right? My college coach, I showed up late one time to soccer practice. He said, if anyone's late the rest of the year, we're all running the entire practice. Again, there was standards on the team. And the 2 weeks into the team, when somebody got kicked off the team for smoking pot, he got caught by the NCAA, although he was the number 3 recruit in the nation that year. Coach is like, the team we'll move on. One player is whatever, right? Although talented, not smart. So remember, never prejudge people and get good at looking at people's actions as opposed to what your perception is. All right, so that's point number 2 about awful leadership tips. Last awful tip that I'll give you on a Friday, and happy Friday, everybody, is never work out your most important muscle. Like, wait a second. And I'm talking about your brain. Your brain is your most important muscle. So never work it out. Do anything with it. And again, clearly I'm just messing around here. But there's an old saying, with muscles, whether it's your arms or your legs or whatever other muscles you want to think about, if you don't use it, you lose it. Literally science and studies that when people don't use their brain, they actually get dumber. Now, on the positive side of things, the more you use your brain, the more you get frustrated, the more you get overwhelmed, the more you get more on your plate. Your brain and your that muscle will start to get stronger. It will start to expand. And as things get harder, you should get excited. I get really excited when people bring frustrations to me. Early in my career, I took it totally different. I'd be like, oh no, I'd get nervous for them, whatever. Today, I'm like, great. This is like super exciting that someone's frustrated or pissed off or emotional or whatever. I'm like, bring it. Because I know that when people get to that point, they're either going to make changes or they're going to stay the same. And the people that are going to be great in business will take that frustration and they will make changes and they will grow beyond whatever it is that they're frustrated with, whatever it is they're challenged with. And, I'll tell you, it's super, super important to make that shift in the mentality. Super important. As opposed to being, again, knocking ourselves down, being negative, being emotional in a negative way, to shift the paradigm and really look at it in a positive way, because that's where, you know, your real growth will occur. So I'm going to give you guys some quick tips if you're interested in growing that muscle. 1, read for intellectual stimulation. Like, find something that's mentally stimulating and read about it. Something that you're interested in, something outside the norm. Maybe it's something in the industry, and maybe it's something outside the industry. Maybe it's just, you know, a type of, you know, book or whatever that is something you enjoy. There's actually healthy foods you can eat to stimulate your brain. I'm not going to give you it today, but there's food you can eat that will help your brain, you know, grow. If you get sleep, it actually improves your memory. Everyone individually has a certain amount of sleep that is required for their mind and their engine to work. Some people it's 4 hours. Some people it's 6 hours. Some people it's 8 hours. Everyone's very unique. You knowing what that is for you is super important. And actually getting that time in will help your brain. There's other things you can do. One little thing you can stimulate your brain. If you're right-handed, start writing with your left hand. It's a little game, and this is another thing that is stimulate your brain, is to play games or do drawings with the opposite, you know, natural hand or foot or leg or whatever. So, give an example. I'm a soccer guy. To stimulate my brain, I'll play with my left foot because I'm right-footed naturally. Again, writing with the right hand is normal for me. Writing with the left hand is not. It'll stimulate the brain. But doing things on the opposite side of what's natural will again stimulate your brain. And then lastly, playing an instrument, playing music, listening to music, listening to things that are outside of the norm that you listen to. Again, are just tips on to stimulate your brain. So guys, 3 main tips today, just to run through them again. 3 awful tips was my topic today. Number 1, I talked about purpose. Having a purpose, or I'm sorry, awful tip number 1 is don't have a purpose, don't have goals, don't have a clear vision, don't talk about it. That was tip number 1. Tip number 2 is prejudge people. Right? Awful tip number 2 is prejudging people. And awful tip number 3 is never work out your brain. Never work out the most important muscle in your body. And so just in wrapping up, guys, why did I even go over this? Why is this awful advice? Because really, no one has ever told you this before. It's not true. People have told you these things before. And why did I take this route to explain it? Why did I take this route to, you know, to share it with you? Because I've learned that when you do things a little bit different, sometimes people actually learn. People actually hear you. So by me taking it another way, sharing it differently, similar information differently, maybe it'll hit home this time. And so my hope is that a couple of these hashtag truth nuggets hit home with you today, and you walk away and you actually take some action. You take action to accomplish the things you want to accomplish. You take action to achieve and to start moving towards your goals and moving towards the things you want out of this world. Remember, you know, and unfortunately, I've been reminded a lot lately in my last couple of months with, unfortunately, some death and with friends and some very close friends, that life is not a dress rehearsal. You got one life to live, and you should live it to its fullest. You should set your goals, set your dreams, and go after it and live life. Live, work, accomplish, because you can have it all, in my opinion. So You guys have an amazing day today. We'll see you guys next Friday, same place, same time. Appreciate you guys jumping on. I know we've had a lot of guest speakers lately, so wanted to drop some knowledge this week. But thanks for jumping on and thanks for subscribing. See you guys.